Sandra Conrad was born in Liverpool, but moved to rural Lawrencetown in Dartmouth as a young child. Sandra's first introduction to horses was at the local county fairs, where she would have pony rides. In high school, she developed a close friendship with Marie Robertson, daughter of well-known Roddy and Shirley Robertson. The Robertsons were horse people, and Sandra fondly considered them her second family. Sandra became a member of the Eastern Shore Pony Club and began her leadership of horsemanship skills by preparing lectures and stable management tasks. It was also through the Robertson family that Sandra met her future husband, Weldon. Sandra and Weldon attended the same high school and frequented local community dances until Weldon discovered that Sandra couldn't keep up with him on the dance floor. Go figure. Weldon went off to farrier school, and Sandra studied hematology to become a registered laboratory technologist. During her career, she worked at the Victoria General Hospital. Sandra is well known for her love of sharing her knowledge, so it only made sense that she should be asked by local equine veterinarians to teach basic laboratory skills and procedures to their staff. Her work environment allowed her to travel the horse show circuit with the Robertsons as part of the harness pony crew. It did not take long before this girl was hooked. The Robertsons took Sandra along when they went to purchase a horse for their daughter Marie. At the end of that successful trip, Marie had her horse and Sandra had her first horse named Chip. Sandra boarded Chip at the Robertsons for, get this, $25 a month. With a horse of her own, Sandra began competing on the circuit. With Weldon as her truck driver, she showed in the hack, the green hunter, and the open hunter divisions. As was common in those days, Sandra also participated in mock fox hunts and cross-country events as well. During these competitions, Sandra recognized that she was afraid to jump downhill. And when faced with a challenge, Sandra does something about it. So she went to the Hunterson Event Farm in Vermont as a working student in hopes of overcoming her fear. She was given a 14-3 hand high preliminary eventer who took her down many, many hills. After 2 weeks of instruction, Sandra could not manage to keep her eyes open. In the early 70s, Elizabeth Johnson introduced Sandra to course designing, and once Sandra finds a passion, she devotes all of her energy into learning all about it. After the 1976 Olympics, she attended a course design clinic with Robert Jolicoeur in Ontario, and then enlisted the help of Jen Hamilton as well as Albert McNutt to host a clinic at the Macmillan Centre in Truro. That clinic had 68 participants, and Sandra quickly became the resident course designer throughout Atlantic Canada. She moved the needle on creating safe, fair courses that showed off the strengths of the horses as well as the riders. When Sandra heard that the Westfall District Horse Show would be moved to the Robertson farm, Sandra became an integral part of the horse show management team. Sandra's skills did not go unnoticed. She was invited by Mrs. Marg Southern, the co-chairman of Spruce Meadows, how to organize and operate a tournament. All over Canada, people were noticing that Sandra Conrad was someone that wanted to learn and make the sport better. Horse show management sparked an interest in rules and led Sandra into pursuing her steward's card. As a competition steward, she creates a friendly environment for competitors, horses, and horse show management. Her upside-down steward badge is just one example of how she fosters a friendly relationship with everyone she encounters. Sandra, however, is no pushover. Maritimers are very familiar with her catchphrase, "Step into my office." These interactions are always positive, and you can be assured that she is well versed in the rules that she is enforcing at any given time. Sandra is always ready to level up. She continues her professional development and has achieved her FEI Steward's Card. Her excellent reputation as a steward has resulted in Sandra working at national and international competitions all across Canada. She has been the president of the Nova Scotia Equestrian Federation for 3 terms. Her leadership resulted in her being elected as vice president competitions for our national organization. Over the next 3 years, she worked with the National Board of Directors that had broad expertise and interest from all sectors of the industry. The focus was on education and the wellness of our horses. Sandra made sure that the Maritime region was not forgotten at this national level. Sandra and her husband Weldon reside in Lawrencetown, Dartmouth. Together, they continue to support our hunter-jumper equestrian community as officials during our competition season.
Well, Sandra, congratulations. Finally, you've made it to the Hall of Fame. That's great news. I was only too happy to be partnering with Jen to run that Robert Jolicoeur clinic at the Macmillan Center. But you don't need to take credit for what you're doing today from anyone else. You did it all on your own. You had the tenacity to move forward. You were eager. You were the best course designer the Atlantic region had ever.
In the 60s, it was a simpler time, not necessarily a gentler time. But at the horse shows, the courses were just really jumps that were put up to be jumped. People weren't educated to know the consequences of poor course designing. Consequences that were felt by riders and by the horses. Now, in the 70s, Sandra Conrad and I were hanging over a fence watching a class, and it was a particularly brutal class. And I, of course, was probably bitching about the course. And Sandra looked at me and said, well, let's do something about it. And that simple statement ignited a whole movement. Sandra contacted Robert Jolicoeur, who had been involved in the Olympics, the 76 Olympics in Montreal, and she asked him to come to the Maritimes to do the first ever in Canada course design clinic. More than 100 people went to Truro at the Macmillan Show Center to learn how to course design and make riders and horses' lives better. This course design clinic ignited a passion in Sandra. She wanted to spread the gospel that course designing was important. Sandra went out and she educated herself and others to the importance of course designing.
Friend and mentor Sandra Conrad. When I think of Sandra, I immediately think of a human resource that I can count on. As a steward, if you see something unusual, a different piece of tack, new set of boots, or other unusual things, she's a phone call away for a second opinion or for backup on an issue you're not sure of. Oftentimes our discussions at horse shows would turn into impromptu rulebook quizzes. And what would you do in this situation scenarios? It was all in good fun and learning and sharing ideas and experiences. Sandra mentors a lot of people and she freely shares her knowledge. She's encouraging to other equestrians and brings on and develops new people in our equestrian community. She's traveled the country as course designer and steward and has mentored, given direction to, trained and encouraged many countless knowledgeable equestrians, including me.
First off, I'd like to congratulate Sandra on being nominated into the Hunter Jumper Hall of Fame. It's long overdue, I'm sure. I've known her since she rode horses in the Halifax Forum. I was a member in the Atlantic Winter Fair ring crew, and little did I or the ring crew know that that little woman would eventually be working alongside of us, getting as dirty, almost, as the rest of us. while she was designing courses. She first came on the scene around 1978, 1979, and she came up and said, "I'm your course designer." She taught us the work smarter, not harder adage. Unlike in the past, we used to place jumps and have them moved multiple times. And she did away with that. And that's a good thing when you consider that some of those jumps are 6 feet high. And, there's an awful lot of gear, such as the red brick wall, if anyone's watching that remembers that. She imparted her knowledge to us readily, without being condescending. Sometimes she'd even ask for our opinion, even though she already had her mind made up. More over the ensuing decades, some of us became East Coast Ring Crew, and we began getting shows from all over the Maritimes, New Brunswick, PEI, Nova Scotia. A lot of that was in part due to Sandra's urging and promotion of us. We spent many evenings in a lot of shows sitting in that truck camper of hers and Weldon's, going over the jump plans for the next day. After a time, the learning curve for all of us was shrinking, to the point that we started setting up jump courses in the evening for the next morning. It went a long way to alleviating the striking of jumps and replacing them over and over the next day. And this also helped prevent the exhibitors from showing late into the evening, as we've done a few times in the past. She's contributed so much to the advancement of show jumping in Eastern Canada, from small one-day shows to the extravaganzas of the Des Maurier, Rothmans, Kubota Cups. She deserves acknowledgement of her contributions to the industry.
Sandra's contribution to the equestrian sport is immeasurable. Sandra understands all aspects of a horse show, from course design to scoring to judging and, of course, stewarding. But where Sandra has really improved the sport is her willingness to help others. I cannot even guess how many EC and FEI officials are actively involved in the sport because of Sandra's influence. Sandra was the first steward to agree to take me under her wing, and I am thankful to her for this. Sandra has a kind, patient, and no-nonsense approach to her teaching. In the face of chaos, she is always a calming presence. Sandra lets you learn by doing and gave me many opportunities to shadow her, even at larger events. Sandra has wonderful qualities, but the quality that I think makes Sandra one of the best stewards is her ability to connect with people. Sandra is always genuine, respectful, and kind in her interactions with others. Sandra has single-handedly improved the sport, not only in Nova Scotia, but throughout Canada. That is why she is a deserving recipient of this award and recognition. We all owe Sandra a big thank you.
Oh, Sandra, what I could say. Let me see. Some of your escapades in the camper? I'll leave those out. The times that we tipped the glass together? I'll leave that out too. So I will stay in line and say that you are knowledgeable, short, but mighty, nearly the same height as me, smart, fun to be with, and can handle difficult situations with grace and have a great smile, and you're easy to work with. You can't think of Sandra without thinking of Weldon. What a great team. Now, to be a little more serious. I am so pleased to be part of the time to honor you, Sandra, for all that you have done for the Hunter and Jumper Association, as well as the equestrian world, not just here in Nova Scotia, but in Canada and beyond. You are so enthusiastic and always wanting to learn more. You are a forward thinker and know your rules and the reason they are there. You will fight also for the little guy and not make rules that would inhibit small shows and areas. You have been such a good influence on those you work with, although I know that you're not always appreciated, for you are a stickler to abide by the rules, and you stick to your guns when others would prefer you to be quiet. I wonder who you take after. We go way back, Sandra, totaling Pony Club Rally results in your camper in the 60s to being my right-hand apprentice setting fences at many shows and shadowing me as a steward. I would like to say that you were my protege and am thrilled that you have surpassed me, and I understand that that is a sign of a good mentor. Well done.
You are also a great friend, and we have many things in common. Not just equestrian things, but quilting, church, and love of chatting together.
Sandra, we have shared so many laughs and amazing times at horse shows. I'm so proud to call you a friend and a colleague as a steward. Congratulations on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. You're very deserving of this important recognition. You truly deserve the attention and honor you have earned throughout your life as a course designer, steward, and EC board member. You helped build and design so many programs that are still in play today, and I'm so grateful for your commitment to the equestrian world. To be successful as an official, one has to be committed to excellence. I think you exemplify this quality in the sport. Thanks for all you are and all you do. I'm always proud of you and your accomplishments. I believe that you shall continue to be a top-notch official, always going above and beyond what is required.
Love you, congratulations, and be proud of what you've accomplished.
Here's to you, Sandra. Well done.
Congratulations, Sandra, on this well-deserved award, Nova Scotia Hunter Jumper Association Hall of Fame.
On behalf of the East Coast Ring Crew, thank you, Sandra, for all you've done.
Congratulations, Sandra, and bravo.
May you continue to enjoy this sport and be an influence on the hunter and jumper scene for many more years. God bless you, Sandra.
The Nova Scotia Hunter Jumper Association is very pleased to induct Sandra Conrad into our Hall of Fame.